Welcome back. This is part 2 of the What Next series for the NBA teams who have been eliminated from the NBA playoffs. Last video, I recapped what's next for the futures of the teams who we saw get eliminated back in round 1. This video is going to be discussing and breaking down what I see happening and what could happen for the teams we've seen get eliminated here in round 2. What's next for the Boston Celtics? For the Celtics, they will be undergoing drastic changes this upcoming summer. First off, I believe Jrue Holiday will be moved. I just believe that with this team getting older and with the financial burdens increasing, moving Jrue Holiday seems like a likelier move for this Boston Celtics organization. When Jrue Holiday's contract is up, he'll be around 36, maybe 37. And I can see them trading away Jrue Holiday, bringing in draft capital, and lessening the burden of this cap space. Next, I believe Kristaps Porzingis is more than likely getting traded as well. And that's going to largely be due to his injury history. We saw this team, even with him going down late last season in the postseason, they were still able to be successful. And when he came back, yes, he did put them over the top. But Porzingis is a question mark most of the time. No fault of his own. That's just how the game goes. It's a war of attrition when it comes to the postseason. But I wouldn't be surprised if they move Porzingis because of his injury history, along with once again managing the cap space. And then lastly, I believe Jaylen Brown could be someone who might be traded. At the very least, I could see them having conversations about trading him. JB is the second highest paid on this team. They do have to manage this cap space and they gotta make some tough decisions. I wouldn't be surprised if he's in trade talks, but more than likely, I believe they bring back JB. And to me, I think the new core of this Boston Celtics franchise going forward, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Derek White. Derek White, in some ways, will become that new, younger Jrue Holiday. He can give you defensive intensity, and I believe he helps you more offensively. And quickly, I want to talk about Joe Mazzulla and his philosophy. I'm not going to critique it as harshly because you got to keep in mind, this was a team that lived by the three last year, and that's what helped them win a championship. Now, this year, they lived by it, and unfortunately, that was the cause of death for this postseason run. I don't expect Mazzulla to make major changes. With that being said, I do think he should look at that philosophy a little bit more. And yes, you do want to shoot a high volume of threes, but also I believe those high volume of threes at a specific stretch matters. Because when you're up 20 going into the fourth quarter, if you keep shooting threes and you're not connected on them, you're essentially giving an opposing team a chance to get back into the game. Mazzulla is still a top coach in this league. Depending on what pieces they're able to acquire during the offseason, I believe that largely will impact how they run this offense going forward. Next up, we got the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors, after acquiring Jimmy Butler, looked like they were primed to make a deep postseason run. That hamstring injury from Steph in game 1 definitely came at a detriment to their success. Steph was killing that defense. He had 13 points in 13 minutes. That shows you that Steph is still in his prime, and I'm intrigued to see how Golden State can extend this window. Jimmy Butler is a great too. He's coming off of a lackluster performance while Steph was hurt. I will attribute that to his injury that he suffered back during that Houston series. Draymond Green, he is that enforcer. He is the heart and the soul of this Golden State Warriors team. He will obviously have an impact on whether or not the Warriors win another chip. The biggest needs for the Warriors during this offseason are going to have to be size. Size was a problem in this Minnesota series. Kevon Looney is a solid backup big. They need to go after a big who can give them some rim protection, can rebound. Overall, they just need a presence down there. When they were winning championships, they had that in the form of Andrew Bogut initially, JaVale McGee. Having those type of bigs who can give you 20, maybe 25 minutes a night, especially in the postseason, will go a long way in terms of extending this window. And then lastly, because they have this older core of players, I believe they need to get younger in terms of those role players. You have a Pods, you have Moses Moody, you have Jonathan Kuminga. Now the latter, and Kuminga might be leaving. Kuminga is a very talented player. Does he fit in this Golden State offense? Not necessarily. He's a slasher. He's someone who is a little more ball dominant. And in this offense, when Curry is on the floor, you want more ball movement, you want cuts, you want misdirection. That is why Curry did not play Kuminga and Steph together a lot. And I wonder if that's going to come at a detriment. Will the Golden State Warriors be forced to do a sign and trade? That way they don't lose them outright and can get some value back. Outside of those concerns, I believe Golden State will remain in contention, because when you have Steph Curry, the greatest shooter of all time, and has an argument of being in the top 10 all time, he's going to find a way to push you over the top. Now it's just all about building around him, making sure that you give him enough pieces. That way you can avoid him breaking down like he did this past postseason. Next up, we got the Cleveland Cavaliers, and this was a disappointing close to the season. I thought that they were a regular season team. With that being said, there was a lot of expectations internally of them reaching the conference finals, them having an actual chance of dethroning the Boston Celtics as the Eastern Conference champions. Both teams ultimately went down in the second round, but for Cleveland's case, they went down being outgritted and out-hungered by the Indiana Pacers. Mobley, Hunter missed game 2. Darius Garland was playing on one toe, 1 foot, whatever you want to call it. He wasn't nearly as effective as we saw him doing that regular season. But with that being said, there's just too much talent this year. Had they lost in a 7-game series, maybe we look at them slightly differently. There would still be a sentiment of this being a disappointing season, but they would have at least gone down swinging. Now, Donovan Mitchell is going through some scrutiny right now because he hasn't reached that conference finals, and he's had great teams not only in Cleveland, but back when he was on Utah. This upcoming season, there is going to be some pressure because the Eastern Conference will not be stacked and the Cleveland Cavaliers will be one of the favorites. So to me, the best option is to run it back. Maybe you improve upon your supporting cast. Ty Jerome fizzled out in the postseason. Max Strus did not have an ideal Game 5. Maybe you improve that supporting cast, see where you go from there. I've also heard some rumors about maybe you trade Jared Allen. I don't think that's the best move unless you feel comfortable with having Evan Mobley as your 5. I believe he is a 4. Similar to AD, when you play him alongside a true 5, I believe you get the best out of Mobley. I believe the offense will improve if you have Mobley play more 5, or if you have him as a 5 and you trade Allen, because that creates more space. But overall, for his continued growth, maybe you keep Allen for another year or two and you see how that goes. And lastly, we got the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets had an unusual season. They got rid of their head coach, Mike Malone, GM, Calvin Booth, literally a couple of days right before the NBA playoffs. The biggest takeaway coming out of that Game 7 loss to OKC is that Denver needs to build more around Jokić. Nikola Jokić is the best player in basketball right now, and you don't want to waste his prime. Jamal Murray did not have a great Game 7, but he was important to that championship run. So I believe you keep him because, for one, that contract is almost untradeable. And then for 2, he's more of that second option. I believe that makes Michael Porter Jr. the odd man out. I won't be too harsh on Michael Porter Jr. because he was dealing with that shoulder injury, but he was a no-show in this series against OKC. And I believe if you want to improve that core around Jokić, you might need to trade him, get some draft capital. Maybe you can use that draft capital to hit on a couple of picks, or maybe you get a role player in return. Because keep in mind, Christian Brown, he's going to be eligible for an extension coming up soon too. And shout out to Aaron Gordon. He is a soldier. He went through so much before the year started, losing his brother and then going through all the injuries this season and in the postseason. He is a soldier. He's a trooper. He's a dog. He's all the above. You got to keep him. We saw in Game 7, Jokić sat out the first 2 minutes of the second quarter. OKC went on a 13-0 run, and the game was history after that. That shows me that this team cannot function without Jokić, which is understandable because he's a star player, but you can't even function for 2-3 minutes at a time without him. That is problematic, and that needs to be changed. That needs to be improved because this is one of the best players in the league right now. And Denver can win more championships if they do a better job of getting more consistent players around him. We'll see how they feel about Julian Strawther. Maybe he can come back because keep in mind, without his Game 6, they would not have been able to force a Game 7. Hopefully, he can take the next steps of development during the summer. We go to a Payne Watson. He is necessary because he adds that defensive presence. Then I look at Russ. Russ is a fantastic player. There's a reason why one day he will be in the Hall of Fame. However, at this stage in his career, he's a roller coaster. You get the highs, you get the lows. Russ is a fantastic guy. I love his passion, and I believe you bring him back and maybe you play him a little more in moderations. I don't know yet. It depends on the course of the game. But I believe Russ should come back to this team because he did a great job of not only adding experience, but bringing intensity and energy off of that bench as well. So this offseason, it becomes very imperative for this Denver Nuggets organization to build around Jokić and make sure they don't waste the rest of his prime.